what about this mud? Okay, so we've arrived in Conway. We've got our own private little gated dock. Not bad. Oh, hey, we're live.
Hey, it's always fun to see all the typos I made in the intro loop. I do those so quickly.
Typing by serendipity. That's going to be our new topic.
That'll be
Yes,
how to do
okay.
typos and not be embarrassed by it. That'll be our next topic.
So we're coming to you live from Wilmington, North Carolina, and we're going to give away our navigation secrets today that steered us here and across the last 18 years.
Yes, pretty much. So when I met Chris, he was a solo RVer already, and the tagline on his personal blog was "Adventures in Nomadic Serendipity." That kind of scared me because I'm a planner.
And I particularly, when I was solo RVing and just first set out, I was loving the idea, the experiencing, the not knowing where I was going to stop and spend each night, not knowing which way I was going to turn when I got to an intersection. I would literally drive someplace and be like, that road looks cool. I'll go there. That looks like an interesting place to stop. I think I could stealth boondock there overnight. And that was my travel style. Very, very
And I was
steered
the
by
kind
serendipity.
who always had my travels like pre-planned. I had reservations, I had planes booked, I had people set up to pick me up at the airport if I was flying somewhere. I was used to a very structured travel style, as a traditional sort of traveler
Right.
where I had a home base and I did vacation and personal and business travel from. So this concept of joining him on the road without plans, well, I had a job that required me to be online working a set number of hours every week, that scared me quite a bit, and we had to kind of work out how we made this work
Oh,
to meet both of our needs.
yeah, no, we actually, because it was frustrating to do some of that initial traveling, and actually we almost had a very serious accident. Our first joint big adventure together, where we were on a tight schedule, not even for our work commitment or anything like that,
Mhm,
but just because we had made dinner plans with her brother
mhm.
in Texas, and we had to drive like 500 miles to get there in time for dinner, despite torrential rains and stuff like that. And rather than just stop and say, "Nah, doesn't make sense," we
Let's wait this
drove.
stuff out. I felt stressed to have to get there, and we ended up jackknifing in the middle of a rainstorm, spinning 360 down
Yeah,
the interstate. We were obviously okay.
and our trailer was okay.
Everything
It's
was
scrambled.
okay.
Everything inside was completely scrambled.
But it freaked me out, and that's when we came up with the time zone in which we consider ourselves living in of NST, or Nomadic Standard Time, which means we no longer give firm commitments to people for time and stuff that far out. As we get closer, we do,
Yes.
but we're not saying we'll be there in August on the 3rd.
Right. And that has carried through. That was 17 plus years ago, and
Yeah.
that has carried through. Is like we've kind of found this balance point between my um comfort in just being completely seat of my pants and Cherie's need to have kind of structure. And we found that it's actually better for both of us when we kind of meet in the middle and have the ability to set intentions, set goals, set targets, set tentative commitments with people, but then let go of being tied to those tight schedules and
Right. So,
specifics.
we have met, of course, a lot of fellow boaters and RVers and nomads over the years. And there's a wide variety of approaching how you plan your travels and schedules and things like that. We have friends who literally will sit down for like 1 or 2 weeks and they book everything out for the year in advance, from reservations to their overnight stops to where they're going to stop for fuel. And they have everything planned down to a T. So
Yeah.
that allows them the ability to book the sites they want, when they want to be there, allows them to maybe sign up for work camping opportunities that
Mhm.
require some commitment in advance, maybe going to rallies and events that they want to go to in their travels. And then we know people who literally do it like Chris did, which was wake up in the morning with no plan and figure it out that day. And all of us will find something in between.
Right.
Or maybe there are people who plan out 5 years in advance. I don't know.
I think there actually are. Hopefully, like if you're on a trip to Mars, you've got it planned out to the minute for several years in advance. So yeah, so there is a place for very specific planning, and it all comes down to also what your personal style and comfort level is. And we found what really meshed for us, and we kind of refer to it as steering by serendipity, is where we'll set kind of directions and goals and targets things, but we try not to attach too specific of details and dates to them so that we can make adjustments as we go. And sometimes we'll come to an intersection and say, that way looks interesting. These other plans can be postponed. And we've particularly, I guess, one of the tricks for steering by serendipity is planning. This actually kind of comes to me from like aviation world of flying is you always have a few backup airports in mind, emergency landing places along your route. So you don't have that complete throwing all your plans out the window when you make a sudden turn. You've got a few backup ideas in mind of, oh, if we could do this, then maybe that other place is there.
So the boating community, there is a phrase that says the worst thing you can pack or the most dangerous thing you can pack on a boat is a schedule. And we do find some truth in that because there are so many things out of your control, especially in boating, like
Weather.
weather. I mean,
Mm.
bad storms, hurricanes, winds that make a passage that might be just too rough to be comfortable. These all things can
and,
impact your schedules. And if
and
you've got like a reservation at a marina that's inflexible and you have to get there or you're going to lose your deposit, you might make a decision to go when it is beyond your personal comfort
right.
zone.
And yeah, most people, particularly in the boating world, have know how to accept the negative things adjusting their schedule. Mechanical issues or weather issues. Everybody's had to wait for weather windows and stuff like that. But you also have to, and that's good practice there. But you also have to allow for the positive turns of things. Like this is cooler than I thought. I want to stay here longer. Oh, there's an opportunity to do this. And actually being practiced on dealing with the positive serendipity helps you be more comfortable with the negative of like, oh, I can't travel this day because it's a storm. Cool. Maybe this means I get to do something else cool someplace.
Right. So
Yeah.
what we have learned is yeah, there are of course
Uh,
things that we want to do in our travels and things that we know that there are some pretty hard deadlines on, like hurricane season. You want to know what where you're going to be safest from hurricanes during hurricane season, or you're taking a very conscious risk
Yeah. Which we
and
have.
which we have done too. It's like, okay, what are our backup plans? There and maybe there's specific events that you want to attend
Right.
to, and there are sometimes things like a total solar eclipse that we wanted to make a priority of.
Yes. And so, yeah, we try and we've learned to put fewer and fewer hard scheduled things on the calendar. The eclipse was one this past year. There's certain events that we try to make. What used to be for us, Burning Man every year was a hard date on the calendar. We wanted to be there for Burning Man. It was a huge event for us until we realized having that date on the calendar rippled across our entire year and had our entire year revolving around one particular thing.
Being
And
in Northern Nevada at the end of August meant that we were always passing through the same areas of the country at the
at the
same
same
time of
seasons.
year wasn't necessarily the best time to be there,
And
especially when we had friends and loved ones on the East Coast. It
and
was
and
becoming the same thing every year.
and having that then rush. It was like, oh, feeling I've got to rush to get ahead to be at these particular events. And we've had this happen with RV events that we've set up and committed to in the past. We've think we've got about a 50% track record of making it to RV events we sign up for, just because we burn ourselves out. We're like trying to get to something on a particular schedule. We're like, why are we doing this? Why are we blowing past so many amazing things just because we signed up to potentially speak something at an event? So that's partly why we don't sign up
Yeah,
to
we
speak
we
very
we
often
love
anymore.
speaking at events. We get asked all the time if we'll go to this event or that event and speak at them. If we're at an event,
We love it.
we love it. But I don't
Signing up 6 months in advance.
planning our travels it is counterintuitive to serendipity to have these too many fixed things on
Yeah,
our schedule. So
very limited.
we turn down most RV and boating events, whether we're attending personally or we're you're wanting to speak at them, just because the more things that we have on the calendar is the more things we're saying no to in our personal lives and our personal travels, and the more stress we're adding to
Yep.
get to them. So we no longer, I mean, we look at all these great boating rendezvous and
Yeah.
things that we could do as we move up the coast. But it's like, no, we could do that. Yeah, we could get to the northern Chesapeake in 2 weeks feasibly from here. We've seen people ahead of us get that fast ahead of us,
Go to the
but
next
look at
empty.
all the things that we would miss along the
Right.
way.
So we do actually, and I guess part of our planning is I kind of keep a document of interesting things ahead of us, both events and places, and also we have a calendar, a tentative calendar that we put interesting potential events, and we're not tied to them, but that helps us know, oh, are we converging towards them? Maybe we can line these up and sign up and
Yeah.
get in, and it
Yeah.
works really well.
Whether it's a race we want to run in, or it's an event or a meetup, or an invitation
Yeah.
from a viewer like yourselves who has said, "Hey, I'm going to be around this area at this time." Um, we put those on our calendar. Now we have a speculative calendar, and we have our things that we've bought tickets to calendar level
Yes.
a commitment. And one issue that we have is sometimes he'll put things on the what I call the firm calendar.
I'm pretty good about that
Expect
now.
you got
Yeah.
better because I
Yes.
smacked your hand a couple times. Because I start to see things on as like, whoa, we're going to this play that you found, or whatever.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, how are we gonna fit that in?
Yes, and yes, the speculative calendar often can have multiple overlapping things because you don't know how far you're going to have gone,
Hmm.
particularly when you're putting speculative things out 6 months or a year in advance. But it's also very useful to have like that looks interesting, and as you sit down and do a little travel planning, you're like, huh, we're actually making headway towards this interesting thing. Maybe we'll push a little faster because that interesting thing is worthwhile, or maybe oh we're falling behind. Maybe I'll just drop that idea of that interesting
Right.
thing, and there's something even cooler over here, and
Right. So it's not that we don't, we no longer always wake up every morning and don't have a plan, but
yep,
we sometimes do have days like that.
yep.
And one thing that we have found that works really well for us is we plan about a week out. That suits my needs to know that we have a plan that we're following.
Yeah.
Um, and it suits his needs of leaving opportunity open for things to manifest.
So we'll have kind of like tentative, it's like we'll have a few points, like we're like oh, our next. It's oftentimes for in boating, it's our next marina booking. We'll have an idea of what our next marina booking is, and then between where we are and there, we might have a whole bunch of potential anchorages, and depending on what feels right, we'll just pick between them as we cruise.
Yeah, sometimes he literally says, "I'm turning right here because I want that anchorage." Like, were we going to the 120 miles up? Okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, because like you're going by an anchorage, you're like,
But
that
that's
looks open and
pretty.
that looks really pretty, and there's no other boats there, and the wind is just right for that. You know, call an audible on the plan. We'll drive an extra hour and a half the next day and have this pretty anchorage tonight. And that really, so far that's worked out really well.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
done it, and it only slightly stresses me out.
I
But so we leave that flexibility in there, where we'll set where the next marina stay is. That gives us the ability to know where Amazon can catch up with us,
Yep, very important. Very, very
where we
important.
can book things like our current location. One reason we booked here for, well, we started with a week, was because we're due for our second shingles vaccine. And it was like, well, we know that the second one has has
Might have a
but
down day afterwards.
might have a down day or two afterwards. So we wanted to have plenty of time to recover from that before we have to do active navigation again.
And also it's nice to plan our air conditioning breaks of
Right.
being having
And
shore power.
there's always boat projects to
Yeah.
attend to.
And also the one thing, and this is something that we always have to remind ourselves, and usually Sheree has to like put a like pay attention to this, is when we have particular work days that we're worried are going to be heavy work days, we have to put those into our navigation planning of like, let's not make this a travel day or a heavy travel day. Let's make sure we know where we're going to be on this
Mhm.
particular Tuesday and Wednesday because we've got work calls and we don't want to be juggling work calls with having to
Worry about
navigate.
weather and
Yeah.
things like that.
Hmm.
So we do look ahead. We try to minimize the number of committed work calls that we have. So
That was
we
very important.
yeah, we made that so that's only like 2 or 3 days out of every month, webinars and things like that, so that we know we can be in an area where we're not going to have distractions. Well, there's always
There's
distractions,
always distractions.
but we're going to be someplace where we're not worried about an anchorage and pulling anchor.
In the middle of a call, you don't want your
Yeah,
anchor to pull. Yes, and so we found this balance that really works well for us. We call it steering by serendipity.
and
We
it's
are constantly recalibrating.
absolutely, and it gives us the opportunity to embrace the awesome that is around us. So
Mhm.
we've showed up so many times. It's like, oh, we're in this town, and they have a farmers market that shows up right at the marina.
and we just have to stay one extra day and get to do that, sure, yeah, we'll
Or
do
they're
that.
having a live concert series this weekend. Oh, well, yeah, we'll stick around for that and enjoy the live music and this community vibe. Um, or it's like, oh wow, we got to this town and there's like live theater. We can book
Yeah.
tickets in. If we just stay 3 more days, we can go see this great symphony
See a play, yeah,
performance
see
or
a symphony. And on the other hand, it's like, we've also given ourselves permission of, like, even if we've prepaid for a place, if something's not working for us, maybe we leave early.
yeah.
That's also an option.
Hmm.
And it does require more speculative planning. You have to have your backup plans and your potentials planned out ahead, but it also opens up so much fun
Hmm.
potential and
Yeah,
sort
so it's not like so when we're planning in advance, like I.e. the week in advance, we go and look at what our options are.
and the weather.
What is the weather going to be like? What are the potential marinas ahead or anchorages ahead? If we're interested in a marina and we're not sure if we want a night, 3 nights, a week, a month, is we'll call ahead, talk to the dock master, and just get an idea of how booked up are they.
Yeah.
What do they have any special deals on weekly stays versus going nightly or monthly? And know what our options are and just see, do we need to get a reservation and how quickly are they booking
Yeah.
up? And that's one advantage of right now we're kind of behind the
The looper
seasonal,
migration.
yeah, the loopers, most of the traditional 1 year loopers are way ahead of us. So we're kind of off season. So we're now able to really most of the marinas have plenty of room and a
Yeah.
lot of flexibility for us.
And that a lot of flexibility also means, like, when you book just an overnight, or you're booking particularly online with Docway, even if it's for multiple nights, the rates are very fixed and kind of unflexible. But when you call and say, "Do you have a weekly rate?" they're like, "Yeah, we do."
Yep.
Or, sometimes we'll get to a place and it's like, if you want to stay the weekend, that's fine. An extra day or two is no big deal. And we've had people say free day. It's like, well, thank you, cool. We don't ask for that sort of thing, but it just pops up often when you're friendly with the dock pastures and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
They like good people at their docks.
that's
That
true.
is
And
awesome.
the work for a marina staff is all about the day you leave and the day you arrive. So once you're
Usually it's just the day you arrive. The day you leave, that they
they
just
usually
you
don't have anything to do
leave your
with it.
life unless it's a complicated marina like Charleston where they are there to help you.
Yes.
But
Yeah, so we've and that's one of the places where we allow a lot of room for serendipity, is extending. When we find some place that is cool, we find the cool local events, we find the cool things, and we find, in boating in particular, the longer you stay, the cheaper your stay gets. And oftentimes, if you stay a week, then you stay 2 weeks, a month costs next to nothing more than 2 weeks. Starts to get crazy cheap compared to those daily rates when it's very, very expensive for boating.
and that's why we're in Wilmington for a month, which is where we currently are. We are in
Yes.
Wilmington, North Carolina.
We came for a week.
Our last live, we had just hit the ICW outside of Jacksonville. If you've been following our produced videos, we had just left Charleston, so we have some more videos to get caught up with. So basically, we left Charleston in middle of late May. We had a wonderful 1 week stay there, and we did flexibility to extend if we
Yeah,
wanted to,
mhm.
but we decided not to. Did some great anchorages, coordinated with some friends that were also kind of a little behind us, and we were able to meet up in Georgetown, South Carolina,
Mhm.
which we elected to stay there for
Memorial
the
Day week.
weekend to
Mhm.
avoid all the holiday chaos out on the water because that's coming into the Myrtle Beach area.
And we had our own chaos on the water, but that'll
We
be
did.
covered in our
You'll
next
see in
produced video.
our next produced video. We'll be covering the
Some
craziness of
excitement
Georgetown.
and almost trying to sell the boat, but you'll see
I
when you see the video.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No
yes.
foreshadowing here. And then we decided to do a side trip up the Waccamaw River after that. And went to Conway. We had heard from our friends Dave and Stacy that Conway was a worthwhile side trip, and the Waccamaw River was uh, reminiscent of the St. Johns River, which we love so much, and it definitely was.
Very worth it.
So it's like a 17-mile side trip off the
Yeah,
ICW.
it's not a long side trip,
No.
but it's big. But I think the main reason so few people do it is it's very unclear of what the situation is for staying for a cruising boat if you get to Conway, because there's
There are
docking confusion.
There are 2 transient docks that are offered there, first come, first served basis, not a lot of information on it. There's like you get there, there's no signs that you're supposed to pay or anything, and you are supposed to pay. So yeah,
It's
thankfully we found another looper who was already there
on
on
Nebo.
Nebo, and Rusty was able to chat with us and give us the intel and let us know the other transient dock that he wasn't on was open, and that this is where you go to pay.
Yeah, and actually, one of the reasons so few people go to Conway, it is literally off the charts. When you go that far up the Waccamaw River, most of the marine navigation charts just stop, and it shows you driving or cruising over land on your chart. So that was actually quite amusing as well. So
But
yeah,
completely navigable. It's plenty of depth up there. There are two transient docks that can accommodate about a 50-foot boat pretty
yeah,
easily.
and we just
A
stayed a couple.
dollar a foot, with power included, and we just fell in love with little town of Conway. It's very, reminiscent of Sanford and everything we loved about it. Historic town that's been revitalized with great dining and
Yeah.
shopping and great community events. There's concerts going on, a car show going on. We got
Uh,
biking in.
One of the best farmers markets ever for a small town, right outside the marina
Yep,
or
on
the
a
right
Sat
outside the dock. Yeah,
on a Saturday morning, and
great restaurants and
yeah,
yeah,
we had a blast there. It was so flexible because it's first come, first serve. We just could extend. It's like
a day at a time. Yeah.
we did like 3 nights first, and then we said, "No, we want another night here," and it's great. And then we backtracked back to the ICW and started making our way up the coast a bit more, and we decided our next stop would be Wilmington. We didn't know much about Wilmington getting in here. All we knew is we had had a kind YouTube follower reach out in advance and say, "If you come through, I'd love to meet up." And that's always gets our
Yeah.
attention.
Mhm.
We'd seen Wilmington on the map, and I don't think we realized that I didn't
Well,
realize anyways, was that it's a side trip off of the Great
right,
Loop. It's
because
not officially on the loop.
yeah, because well, a lot of people visit Wilmington because Wilmington is a major historic city and the biggest port in North Carolina. But a lot of people visit Wilmington who are looping by stopping in Wrightsville Beach and then maybe Ubering in or whatever, visiting from that side. But that's you're not staying in the historic downtown area. So there's
We
only
love staying in historic downtown areas. That's where the
and
cool stuff is.
that's where and Wilmington is exploding with so much cool stuff. So we came up the river. And you have to time the currents just right and stuff, but and to stay right here in the downtown.
And
And
this is one where if you booked through Port City Marina's website, which is the one downtown, you'll go through Docwa. And we wanted a week. We
mhm,
decided we were ready for if we're doing a side trip. It was like 3 hours of cruising off the ICW. It was
yeah,
like if we're doing that much of a side trip, we want to stay a week.
and we
Uh,
heard so many good things
yeah,
about Wilmington. So
yeah.
it's like
And we
we
knew we
wanted
had
to do
boat
the shots
shores
and
and
some
we
boat
needed
shores
our
and
yeah.
yeah,
So we called Docwa for a week. They quoted us like $14.50 a foot for a week stay, which was basically the daily rate times seven. So we decided to
call it that
call
master.
the dockmaster and just ask, "Hey, do you have a weekly rate?" Sure enough, they did. $8 a foot.
It's
We're
like
like,
score.
done. And he kind of the way he worded it was, and there's flexibility to stay
Well,
later.
well, at first they told us that you could stay until the 16th. So there was a flexibility to stay
A few
a
more
few
days.
more days.
We're like, okay, we might take that.
Yeah. And
And I guess he took that response of maybe I should assign you to a different slip that hey, there's more. So once we got in, they got us in a slip. We checked in for a week, and he basically said, "I'm not charging you until you leave because your slip is available for as long as you want to stay."
so if you want to extend, let us know, and
It's
we'll
like,
just do a
huh? You must know us, or know your boaters,
no.
because this is apparently a Velcro place.
Yes, and yeah, boaters do get stuck here. That seems to be a thing. And so yeah, we after just a couple days, we realized we had that same feeling of just walking around Wilmington. Like, there's a week is not going to be enough for this town. We already booked tickets for plays, and we did this and did this and this. It's like this week is
There's
exploding,
so
and
much great dining
and
here.
so many people we met immediately. Got
Yeah,
immediately invited to
so many.
Docktails and stuff.
There's several of our followers like yourselves who are right here at the marina who instantly just
And just other friendly
invited
people who
it,
just
in,
didn't know us in advance. Yeah.
a fellow Bayliner 4788 owner, and we were just like
Yeah.
instantly invited to be part of the community here. And we have been non-stop social. We've been here now 2 weeks, and we did extend for a
Yeah,
month.
yeah, we extended for 2 weeks, and then 2 days after that extension, we're like, I wonder how much it would cost to stay a month, just so we have that option. And when we found out that a month was just slightly more than the 2 weeks, and it was all proratable, and we can, yeah, it was, yeah, well, sign us up for a month,
And that puts us here for 4th of July, so we're not having to navigate where to be for a holiday weekend
and
when
instead
the
we have the
fireworks
fireworks right
right
here.
here. So, yeah, we'll be here until just after the 4th of July. Um, and yeah, it's been nonstop. awesome. Our friends Ann and Elliot, who are in the chat, they live in North Carolina part of the year and came out and visited us over last weekend. So it was awesome to catch up with them
Yeah.
and go do some fun stuff around Wilmington.
Yeah. So that's just all about this. Like, when I had my tentative plans, actually tentative plans was like maybe we'll be in in Washington D.C. for July was like early version of the tentative plans. Just like putting it's like where some cool places that would be good for July, and just being open to adjusting has us in Wilmington. We're gonna have an amazing display here and have some fun spots, and we are in a really super cool town.
And
And
yeah, we
yeah.
get to continue to hang out with our new friends here, make new friends. We already have tickets booked up for other stuff that's going on, like the symphony next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still haven't gotten our shingles vaccine, which we're doing this week.
Yes.
And yeah, we've
And we
had
still have got boat projects to tackle. So
still fun
yes,
projects.
yes,
So
we're gonna do a flush on our AC system. So yay, boat projects. Lots of boat
So
projects.
yeah, so that's how we navigate serendipity. This is why we don't kind of like have plans to do anything forward from here. We have intentions. Like we want to, our next size trip will be probably Newbern.
Uh-huh.
But we're also, of course, watching hurricane. This is going to be a crazy hurricane year predicted.
Mhm.
So we're watching
Yeah.
that carefully. We're already out of the Florida area. North Carolina is still
Yeah,
a bit
but
of a
we
risky
haven't
area.
crossed Cape Hatteras yet, so it keeps changing our risk profiles. We pay attention to all these things. We put them into the grinder. We have a kind of a big document of speculative stuff. But yeah, when people ask us like, when are you going to be here? When are you going to be? My dad keeps wanting me to know when are we going to be in New Jersey, and because that's where we used to boat when I was in high school time, and he'd love to meet and revisit some of our boating destinations there. It's like, I'm not sure what year we'll make it to New Jersey, but much less what month or day, but we'll figure it out as we
Yeah, so,
go.
nomadic standard time is a great thing when you're a nomad for expressing to others, what to expect. So, it's kinda like when you're watching a hurricane forecast is so far out, you kinda know you're gonna be kinda in this area. You might be on anywhere from this area at this time period, and then as it gets closer, it cones in. And that's kinda how we try to explain it to people when we're even RVing or boating is, okay, we are maybe gonna be in your area sometime in July.
Yes.
That's about as close as I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we are
try.
heading this way, and as we get closer, the timing narrows in.
And then you might say, "Oh, it's looking like August now." Um, and then we get closer, and it's like, "Okay, it's looking like
This
first
week.
first week of August."
Then
Okay.
it's like, hey, what are you guys doing on Tuesday?
Like, yeah, we're gonna be arriving on Monday, we could get together on Tuesday. Um, so we narrow in and we try to be very clear with our communication to others and what to expect with us and to not go putting fixed things on their schedule around us that's gonna cause either of us stress,
Yes.
when we're trying to meet up with people, intersect with people. So those are some of the strategies and tips that we have. We're gonna open up to Q&A because we've been
Yes.
babbling for half an
Yes.
hour now.
Okay. So Q&A times.
Yes.
Let's do this here. So I think there actually already
We've
are a
got a couple
few
questions.
questions in here in chat, and if you've got other ones, queue them up because we'll be hanging
Yep.
out here with you guys.
It can be
And
about serendipity, nomadic life, cats, just no questions about mobile internet.
our one rule: no mobile internet questions. And yeah, I just want to shout out to Elliot and Ann who had visited us here. And let me turn off that Q&A thing. Go away. Oh,
The Q&A is up there.
but I had to unlock the thing there. Okay, there we are. So now I could bring up questions. Let's find some questions in here.
With bringing late loopers from
Boom, there we
Maria.
are from Maria.
So, being late loopers, are you storing for the winter and going back to land travel? And that is the intention. Notice I didn't say plan. But yeah, our intention is as we get further north up into the Chesapeake, we're going to spend, well, that's the intention is we're going to spend most of the summer and fall cruising the Chesapeake area. And
And
we'll be on the lookout for some place to store. Why not? Hopefully, somewhere where we don't have to winterize as much if we go further north. And
yeah,
then we'll get Blooper back, our van, and which is currently stored in Central Florida.
and yeah, we've got we'll figure out a way to get Blooper transplant our life back into it. And also, if anybody has recommendations of good places to potentially store, why not? No, we're
Open to
always open to
ideas
ideas.
because
We've got a few written out already, and
but
yeah,
it's all new cruising territory to us, so we don't know marinas or yards or things like that yet. But yeah, we'll be on the lookout for places that look like good options for storing why not either out of the water or in the water.
yeah,
And
store for the winter, and then return to the van. We have a pretty strong intention of being able to do Thanksgiving with family in Florida, and
And then from there, probably set out to Arizona and go see Zephyr out there in our lot in Benson, Arizona, and spend pretty much winter out there. And we want to go to the Escapers annual bash,
the
which is the
10th anniversary.
10-year birthday since we helped found it. We want to be there for that. And then make our way back to wherever we stored Why Not in early spring.
Yes. So yeah, that is the tentative plan, but those are the
Intention.
kind of the intentions, the pins that are stuck into the whiteboard right now. We got a comment from Johnny Lightning noting that some people can't live an unscheduled life, and yeah, that is indeed the case. It's like it meant you've one of the most important tips around steering by serendipity is don't if it doesn't fit you. So you got to find the balance that fits your
Yes.
personal stress
I-
and sanity levels.
If having a schedule is your happy place, have a schedule.
Oh
Um,
yes,
we have found our happy place in
this kind
having intentions and having a short-term schedule
of uh-huh.
meets my needs,
And
meet his needs.
and it's actually kind of come to be the best of both worlds because
Mm,
we that happy meeting place. I think I'm much happier having that little bit of more set intentions and stuff.
and schedules and knowing we're
Yeah.
going because once we have a schedule, like we know we're going to Wilmington, then we can dive into, as we're coming in, it's like, oh, look at this theater oh, there's a show going on. Do we want to grab tickets? Where can we go get our vaccine at? Do we need to, what are the boat mechanic? If we need to get a boat mechanic, what are the options there? Do we
and
need to
and
call ahead?
and ordering things on to parts and anything else we need. We have a mailing address. Let's get some
Mhm.
Amazon boxes inbound and stuff like that, or other boxes inbound, particularly things that are more tricky shipping. So yeah, we got paddleboards replaced here and stuff like that. So yeah, it's taking advantage of those things. Much
Yeah.
easier to do when you have a little bit of a
Mhm.
plan than when you're figuring it out a
Mhm.
day at a time. So I
Yeah.
much appreciate
Yeah,
that.
so it's been working really well for us, and we generally find we're really in sync with each other. If one of us is feeling overwhelmed by having too many commitments,
Yes.
usually the other one is too. We just express it differently.
Hmm.
And it just takes one of us saying, "Hey, I'm feeling this," and we adjust. Or, sometimes we knew we had some work commitments, and we had one of our team members who was doing some personal travels where they were not going to be as available. And I didn't realize how much it was stressing me out that we didn't have those days that they were gone
Right.
covered, that we didn't have plans to be still from work, that we could be back up to allow them to not be stressed on their personal vacation
Hmm.
where they wanted to still work remotely. But
We didn't want them to, if a big story broke, we didn't want anybody on our team to have to drop everything. And we didn't want to have to drop everything while being on a travel day. We're like, it probably odds are that those are going to be nothing's going to happen on this particular Monday that we have to drop everything and cover it. But just in case, we'll have less stress if we are tied up to a dock.
or
So
we know where we're going to be.
yes, hmm,
It's like, I need to know we're not going to be in motion this day,
yes.
and that we have a plan for that day. And we did. And it turned out great.
Yeah,
So,
those days weren't busy. This past week, very glad we were tied to a dock because there was so many crazy mobile internet stories with the new Starlink Mini and everything else. But that's all over at the Mobile Internet Resource channel. So check out. I think I recorded three. We between us we did 4 videos last week.
yeah, because T-Mobile's new away plan and the Starlink
Starlink Mini. I
Mini,
had to do 3 different videos of Starlink Mini, and I've got another one coming out tomorrow because it keeps changing.
Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah.
We got Ethan of Ethan and Courtney, that other cool people that we've met up with in our travels. So awesome to see you there and visiting that house in New Hampshire. So awesome.
Beautifully.
And anybody else? Oh, we got a question here. Are you going to go out to Oracoke? Strongly recommended. You are now, I think, the third person who strongly recommended Oracoke.
So we're strongly considering it.
Yeah, I know we've had already kind of put New Bern as a tentative spot on the
Site.
map. That's the opposite direction of Oracoke, but I understand there's actually kind of a loop to be made around that whole waterway. So that is something that will, as we leave Wilmington and head up, we'll be going to Carolina Beach and Wrightsville Beach and past Camp Lejeune and Swansboro and Morehead City and Beaufort, whatever the North Carolina version of that is. So as we then cross up towards the Outer Banks and that whole area up there, we'll have to figure out what our potentials
Yeah,
calendar is
so
for the
we'll
route.
be looking at timing hurricane season and how expeditous we're going to want to get out of the next hurricane box zone, basically. I think once we get to the Chesapeake, we've
It's
significantly reduced our odds. Now,
yeah.
there's no safe place anywhere on the East Coast from hurricanes. Even going up to Nova Scotia, we've had friends get hit with them. But you get less chance the further
Yeah,
north you go.
and
So
also the more opportunity you have to go inland and stuff. So
mhm.
it's
Yeah,
we'll be paying attention to everything. But Oracoke is actually on the research this list, because I have now. Yeah,
we
now.
gotten several recommendations for it,
Yes.
and several other
And,
people
and
we're slow looping with back here who are
yeah,
intending it.
yeah, we
So
keep running across other people who have ours. Oh, yeah, because so many loopers. Because if you're doing the loop in the traditional year thing, you can't be steering by serendipity. The traditional loopers that are trying to do it in a year have seasons to contend with, and this all goes out the window for them. So
this
it's not our style.
the serendipity it's a little more rush paced.
Oh yeah,
You can still do it by serendipity,
but you
but it's
still,
less so.
yeah, you have you don't have opportunities to take
Mhm.
longer stays and stuff, and you do have to keep making miles, and if you trade off stopping for a while, you have to make it up with 100-mile days, which is kind of a lot.
Not our style.
Yes. Okay. We got a question here. How do you feel about canal travel with many locks like the Barge Canal, Erie of New York? I'm excited.
I'm kind of nervous.
I love
But
locks.
that's what we do. Is he gets super excited, I get super nervous, and we meet in the middle trying to find it. We're watching a lot of loopers go through the locks right now, because it's kind of that season. And it
We-
seems like a lot of them. It seems like it's work. But it also looks also like a fun adventure too.
yeah.
So I wouldn't mind that part having extra hands on board, so it's not just us, but
Yeah, it's also I mean so many people once you get over your first dozen locks, almost everybody I've
it
read
becomes
about
routine.
says it becomes routine, and some people it's a chore, and other people it's one of their favorite things. It's just
So
it's so I'm a civil engineering geek. I love locks and
yes.
canals
Yeah,
and stuff.
Chris
So
is gonna be the one there trying to hold on to the line, and he's gonna be looking at everything and let's go of the
and I'll
line.
be reading
Yeah.
the Wikipedia
Yeah.
page about the history of this lock and who dug it and where it was put, and yeah, that's kind of me.
Meanwhile, the lock master's gonna be saying, "Could you please move your boat, sir?"
And I'd be like, "Did you know that this lock was dug in 1847 and that it was expanded?" And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
get
gonna be
really,
that boater.
I really get into locks and canals and oh, Fred's pointing out, can't wait till you get up to the Thousand Islands and the Rideau Canal. Yes, that is partly why we want to extend
And you
ourselves.
can't spend a whole year there. It gets cold. There's winter up
Yes.
there.
Yeah, the canals up in Canada are everybody says are some of the most beautiful parts of the loop and incredible cruising. Yeah, super excited to get up there to that cruising, and I want to maximize our cruising season and not be feeling rushed to have to get down to Chicago and into the down the rivers before fall and not having to be rushing to
Yeah, so we are intending, again, not planning, multiple seasons up north and, finding the correct way to store why not over winters.
up
And
further north.
and that's why we still have our RVs, for winters
Yeah,
that is still the intention going forward.
mhm.
Because yeah, the boating season
Get
gets
shorter.
shorter the further
Yeah.
north we go.
And now a
So
lot of boaters also they just come south and then they go
mhm,
north again. So they kind of follow the seasons up and back and are able to do that if they're boating full time. But we have the advantage of an RV that we can split our
mhm,
year with, so we can leave the boat behind and
mhm,
hopefully winterizing is not a big ends up not being too big of a
mhm.
deal.
Yeah.
And yes,
Wow.
and yeah, Thousands Islands are awesome. I've
Yeah,
seen
I
that.
loved so, if you haven't seen it yet, Show and Joe, who were loopers from a couple years ago, did an amazing YouTube channel, on the Great Loop, but they recently put together, like, a 2.5-hour documentary of their entire loop, and, yeah, I just loved watching that and just getting so excited about the things ahead of us. Not at their pace.
No,
Not
that
excited
one-year
about the pace
pace.
they took.
Well, that was just a reminder of like,
Mhm.
just slow down, enjoy it, sniff the flowers when we find them, enjoy the cool cities. And again, a shout out to Wilmington. This is going to be one of the coolest cities I've had a chance to experience. It's just got such a cool vibe.
Yeah, everyone here that we've encountered is friendly. I mean, people, like, actually stop and let you cross the street. They let you get into traffic. Um, it's just been so
Yeah.
welcoming here, and,
And
people stop and talk, like the dock hands here. They'll stop and talk with you and have a conversation, and
mhm.
it's just it's a
and the and
friendliness
the
that we don't
and
get everywhere.
and the yeah, the city is just full of pride flags. It's June right now, and yeah, just love the vibe.
Mhm.
Loving the vibe of Wilmington,
Yeah,
and
pride
there's
flags and recycling. That's usually a sign of a town we wanna be in.
and yeah, and it's a
Mhm.
big enough town that there's big enough city that there's just a lot of diversity of restaurants and events and
Uh-huh.
just more stuff going on
There's
than
a
we have.
Trader Joe's and a
And
Costco,
Costco.
not here downtown,
Yep.
but, there are things that we can plan provisioning around.
Yep.
I don't think we'll do Costco on the bikes, though.
Yeah,
Probably
we
not.
have been getting out on the bikes. We've been getting out running, and yeah, so this has been a great place. And I think we are caught up on questions. So last quick chance, throw a question down, or I think we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah. Yeah, so, if you haven't checked out some of our produced videos, we're trying to get back into doing 2 or 3 produced videos a month. We'll probably intersperse those with some of these lives. We had intended to do another live by now. We
Yeah.
honestly, finding the open time has been difficult. Our life is abundantly packed of awesome and sometimes sheer terror. Um,
You'll see that in the next produced video. Yes. But
yeah. Yeah, we'll have our next video will be covering Charleston to Conway, and we still need to film Conway to here. So,
yeah, we'll probably film when we leave Wilmington,
yeah, that
and
we
head
got.
out from here.
Yep. Other videos we want to create is one on our new bikes.
We've been
Yeah.
really enjoying having bikes and to use in these cool cities, and yeah, we got
Yeah,
other cool
and
stuff.
as always, if there's topics you would like us to cover, either in a live or produced video, put them out there because we're always looking for ideas on content that would be fun for us to create for you and that you would enjoy. So,
And places to go and invitations to hook up and meet. So yeah, we're
yeah.
always
Yeah, if you're on our route forward, whether that as long as you're good with,
the
us telling
schedule.
the schedule, or the lack thereof, yeah, we have been so enjoying meeting some of you guys on the road, some of you without pre-scheduling. Thank you for coming up and saying hi. If you see us out in public, do say hi.
Yep.
And if you do know that where our paths might intersect, please reach out. Contact@technomadia.com is our direct email address. We welcome those invitations, and we so love meeting you in our travels.
Yeah. And
And Johnny says, please gently press the like button or enthusiastically if you would
yeah,
like.
you can press it as many times as you like, and then do whatever the bells and the notification things, because we don't play and cater to YouTube's algorithm. So a lot of, and particularly we schedule a live with like 24 hours notice and stuff like this. So at least we scheduled it. It wasn't completely spontaneous, but we don't do the things to build up the big audience. But the more people that watch, the more fun it is for us. So hey,
Yep.
yes,
We love
help
having
spread
you
the
guys
word.
along. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining in,
Yeah.
attending these things. If you're watching this later, leave comments, please. We love those comments. We love hearing from you.
Yep, and share the channel with your friends who might be interested in this stuff as well, because we keep hearing from people in all sorts of interesting places who are dreaming about the loop, and some people have been following us for years, and so it's always fun to hear those stories.
Yes.
So cool.
So see you guys next time. Thanks
Okay,
so much.
take care. And yeah, this outro video is just some scenes from our last several weeks on the water. So here you go. Take care. Hey, what about the mud? Okay, so we've arrived in Conway. We've got our own private little gated dock. Not bad.